Recording. All right. So what I want this game to be is called a genre. The genre is called Metroidvania. Let me put that. And it basically is a 2D typically it is a 2D platformer ad- adventure game where you kind of get abilities that let you traverse the world. So I'm gonna put these two as being part of like the main Metroidvania stuff. So let's put like that, I think. So oh, and then let's highlight this to be yellow as well to drive the point in. So the term Metroidvania itself came from two games, Metroid and Castlevania, which basically started the genre. And they both had these, in the simplest form, because there are many ways to define a Metroidvania. In the simplest form, they had abilities that you had to unlock, sometimes linearly, in a linear way, sometimes in a non-linear way, uh, usually in a non-linear way, and they allow you to access more regions of the map or the world or the level. And one more caveat or like one more part about this game or this genre is it's a 2D platform adventure game in a seamless world. So there's no level select basically if you want to imagine that. It's just one continuous world. You can go from left to right at any time you want. Well, if you have the abilities, and that's that. So, and this is just my placeholder name for the game right now. I've gone through like 10 or 20 different placeholder names, and this is just what I happen to have stayed on for the longest time. Let me check something first. Okay. And now I want to, well, go to the settings. Let's get rid of this highlight. Oh no. Can I no longer get rid of the highlight? Uh, there. Select that. And now you go no more. There we go. So, setting elements. We're gonna have a combination of physical and cultural, uh, as in part of the world. And I'm just gonna brainstorm a whole bunch of these. Maybe I should like rename this to setting elements brainstorm. There we go. And then so physical. Well, this is gonna be sort of an alien or like sci-fi or more like cyberpunk sort of setting. Maybe I should put in the idea of cultural, or is it? Well, let's put some some story genre slash tropes. Uh, Basically the familiar stuff that I know it's going to be. So cyberpunk. There's gonna be sort of aliens. There's going to be advanced technology. This is all the familiar stuff that we all know already. Just gonna serve as the sort of baseline to what I'm going to brainstorm or generate over here in the bottom, which is going to be attempt to be the more unique parts of the game, combining these different elements. Uh, so is back, and I kind of want to have a little bit of mutation. Uh, so weird. This is weird powers basically. Because that's how I want to uh, how you say flavor the abilities of the game. They're all mutations, and then I think that'll be okay for now. Oh wait, I forgot. Data or like world of data. So this is kind of part of the reason I named it Void Rain. or like one way of interpreting the name Void Rain is like every now and then data just rains like in a physical form. That's like, so let's put this here. Void Rain. Data literally rains in a physical form. Um, Now this might be weird. Like, how do I express this or like all these world building stuff in a 2D platformer adventure game? I mean, this is not an open world RPG. There's like slight open worldness, but not full open worldness to it. But how will I express it now? Uh, I don't want to. I'm not planning on making like a whole bunch of dialogue or intricate plot lines and cutscenes for the gamer to experience. This is gonna all be done through environmental storytelling and game storytelling through game mechanics because like we're a game and I wanted to take advantage of the medium of the game when storytelling. And but I still don't have like a story to begin with, which is why I'm sort of trying to world build all of this to just make a story to then try to express via the video game medium. Um, and part of that was this void because I wanted to deal a lot with this handling data. So in games, usually the data can sort of be taken for granted, like monster stats or location info, or maybe I could just summarize that to mapping or character bios. All of these things usually automatically get written onto the player's journal, and it's up to the players more interested in lore to figure out or like read this stuff and like take advantage of it or something. But I wanted to handle this data or like have a more hands-on experience when dealing with these concepts of data. So basically, trying to first gather the data in the first place. How would the player go about doing that? Figuring out all the amount of stats or mapping or character bios themselves, and then how they next distribute or like play with that data because they could share this data with other characters. Now, not through dialogue, because like I said, I didn't want to make this super complicated, but just through inventory instead. Like, so that's another concept in handling data that I wanted to do. So let's just put this in more categories for more organization. We have data types, and we shift that all there. And now we have some more concepts like this is data mechanics. Data inventory is what I wanted to have, like basically USBs slash data chips or whatever. Basically, the player would have a handful of these, and they can play with their data inventory however they want, giving them to other characters and seeing how that influence the game, how that influences or changes the gameplay. Uh, and because I find that very interesting and very like it hasn't. Well, at least in my experience, I haven't found games that do this. Even though I'm pretty sure a lot of games sort of do this indirectly. I just wanted to fully focus on it for this game, and then yeah, introduce this sort of physical phenomenon or whether that spices up the use of data by letting it like literally rain. Um, so let's see, data inventory. What else have I not talked about? Oh yeah, data mechanics. There's a data inventory, which can allow player to share slash obtain data from inventories of other characters. And then, of course, there's using said data to play slash play better slash enrich the game. Enrich the experience, I guess. Player experience. Enrich the player experience of the game, of course, not the actual like level up experience kind of concept. I don't think I'll add that to the game because I want to still keep it very streamlined in terms of what the game is about. Um, so we have these tropes and the world. Actually, the world data. I'm not sure if it's a genre or trope, but I'm just gonna leave it there because. Wait a second, I could just put that in cultural. There we go. So now we have more stuff to start with. So yeah, we have this void rain, and if I were to explain it more, like all data containers suddenly leak their data into a physical fluid form that rains upwards into the sky. Just because we're like edgy and subversive that way. Lol. Now, that way, there are times when the player can just there will be times and events when the player can gather previously hard to get data in a different uh, chaotic way because there are data hunters, or basically I- if data is precious, then the player isn't the only one taking advantage of the free hacking for data during void rain. So yeah, when you have a precious resource, at least in this world, there will be people trying to take advantage of said resource. Now I just want to check a few more things. Okay, not much happened. So next I want to talk about, so yeah, we have this world of data as a sort of baseline. So let's generate or brainstorm what a world of data can affect. Uh, I guess I should probably add in here in the tropes is post-apocalypse slash empty world because um, part of the things I really like in games or like in the games I play is that feeling of what loneliness or being able to explore a world that's both empty and full at the same time, or basically it's empty of like the usual human clutter and more full of monsters and just uh, has a more focus on simple survival uh, and that at least I like that genre of game. I mean, I'm pretty sure I can also enjoy a game with a lot of human elements and like so many characters and so many intersecting plot lines and like conflicting ideals and whatnot. But I don't think I'm at that stage of uh, s- writing prowess to be able to handle that, or like, and since I haven't been able to like truly appreciate that when I watch stories or games or play games of that type. So I want to keep. I want to do something simple at first. Um, so now I want to. Uh, so we have this empty world. So more of tribal slash village civilization using advanced technology from the past. So basically, that actually you could kind of put this still in that trope or genre thing where you have a very simple civilization, maybe not tribal suspicious, and let's just say simple civilization, not quite primitive, but simple, using advanced technology. That sort of contrast. Uh, so maybe we should. I'll just leave it here for now. Next, I want to hmm, generate a little more about the culture. So let's just brainstorm a whole bunch of cultural things it could affect. So cultural systems. We have economy, we have religion, we have politics, we have defense, we have education. What else? Uh, I guess science. Wait, science is kind of part of education, but I'll just put it in anyway. Oh wait, no, technology. Technology. So we have all these systems. Now, what do I think? How do I think it would affect one of these? Like, do I want to make this a game about economy? I kind of do actually because it's all about handling data and having a data inventory. So over here, so you can share and obtain data from others. So maybe you could include instead also add barter, or maybe easier to understand trade or purchase, easy to understand buy. You can share, obtain, trade, or buy data from inventories of other characters there. So in that sense, data is kind of like a currency. So I guess we could, other than data inventory, there's other than the data inventory mechanic, there's the data currency mechanic. Uh, and so I'm going to just like highlight this and say data is a currency in this world. Now I haven't really figured out why yet, but we can always figure out the whys later because there are many ways we can explain something, but we have to just take things like we have to do things one step at a time. So right now we're establishing which systems we want to explore in the game. I think economy is going to be a fun thing to explore in the game, and which systems we don't want to necessarily explore. Now, religion, I'm kind of interested in religion from an alien eldritch god perspective. Um, but then, oh yeah, yeah. So basically, this could also tie in as a reason why data is a currency. Uh, I have I actually realized I'm like just taking almost all of this out of my current D&D campaign with my friends. But basically, what if there were these alien gods who invaded an advanced civilization and add alien un, unfathomable alien gods, unfathomable alien gods. Now the we won't no, right now I'm currently just in that mode of like telling. Like I wouldn't ever put unfathomable alien gods in the game. Like just call them that way because that would be so straightforward or like direct. Like the moment you call something unfathomable, it kind of becomes fathomable because you just all you do is say it is instead of like do the show don't tell technique. Although in games actually it's not just show don't tell, it's more like do don't show because you have to let the player play it rather than just show it to the player through like cutscenes. That's a different matter and different topic to discuss. But yeah, so for now, just for since this is a document only for the creators, I'll just call it this to make it easier to or simpler or faster to refer to, even though it's like 3 words. So unfathomable alien gods who invaded an advanced civilization and brought with them interesting. Well, actually, I could transfer the unfathomable here. So, interesting, unfathomable desires slash demands of the humans. Let's just call it humans for now. Advanced human civilization. and we can worry about lace later. So I guess I could put a placeholder mark here by, I guess, italicizing. Yeah, let's just italicize it to remind us later. Um, italicized stuff are placeholder. You can say all of this is placeholder, but I just want to be reminded particularly about the race because I might want to talk about that later on. Maybe that could be all the way down here actually, race, since I was so interested in talking about it. Religion, alien gods who invaded and advanced human civilization and brought with them interesting, unfathomable desires. So these unfathomable desires and demands are like what I want to be the reason why data is a currency. Because the more you know how to satisfy these gods, the better you're able to survive. And it's interesting or unfathomable because wait, I should probably add this to the thing because uh, we can do this through very weird game mechanics. Like for example, there are very specific sort of rituals and like sacrifices that the humans have to make at very specific places at very specific times, and they are all different for all the different gods. And whenever you don't do them or do them wrongly, the humans get punished. So yeah, let's put that over here in under religion. Very whoops. Let's not italicize this. Very wait what? Control I. There we go. Very specific rituals with very do I say very? Let's just simplify it. We don't need adjectives all the time. Specific rituals with specific requirements are demanded of the humans. Wait, let's go italicize that at all times. Therefore, having knowledge, well, that's another way of calling data. Having data slash knowledge of these rituals results in better survival slash living. So it can't. This is we don't want it to. Even though I said a while ago, survival is sort of the more simple thing, which is like easier to like display in a game, in a video game. But we could include living as well, like better living, so it's not way too simple. So, for example, the player gets to not have to worry about so much stuff the more rituals they do correctly. So now, so that's religion. It sort of answers our data like question, like why is data this important? Um, and now I just want to check on Twitch to see what's happening. Ah, 3 viewers, cool. Anything happen here? Not really. Okay, back to work. So, let's see. I wanted to check other. Oh wait, did I want to highlight this? Okay, I actually forgot why I wanted to highlight this. But oh well. So, well, oh wait, right, because we're saying this is part of the things we want to do. So let us highlight there. So next, politics. Do we want politics in the game? Well, technically, we will naturally have politics because there are going to be bosses in the game which probably have the most data about rituals, and the player wants to like get rituals off of or get data off of them when they're playing. Now bosses, this is not in terms of like the sort of workplace or office boss, but more like the video game boss, like because we I kind of still want to make bosses in my game. I think they're pretty fun. So back to politics. Since there will naturally be some sort of politics or hierarchy to the game, maybe we want to detail it slightly, but I don't want to go super in depth. I don't want to make like a ranking system that the player like rises up through or something like that. So we'll just mildly flavor the hierarchy of a simple civilization. And that's kind of part of why we wanted to simplify the civilization so we don't get so complex so quickly. about all the world building. So I'll skip that for now. Defense, well, this is kind of has to be a highlight again because it's a game and it's a game mostly about combat. So in a game mostly about combat, you're gonna have to detail the defense or what armies. Well, in this case, it may not be armies, but just what sort of power can exist in terms of like combat power. So let's just start with some basic like magic. Wait, magic? Am I gonna include magic, or was it purely mutations? Well, let's start with mutations because that's what we flavored it at first. So mutations, probably flavored as blessings from successful alien god rituals. So we have mutations that grant power, and then we have advanced technology of let's call it the old world because that's cliche. And then what other weapons exist? Hmm, well, these are kind of like still super broad and generalized like flavors of defense, but we would, in theory, we want to make these more specific. Uh, Although I guess that's another step that we could take later because so far we've just been doing the broad strokes like, yes, we want to talk a lot about economy in this game because data is a currency in this world, so there'll be a lot of mechanics on that. Same with religion and same with defense. So I'll detail these later. But for sure we're gonna have a lot of details about the defense or like maybe replace defense or replace it with combat power. Uh, Education, well, that was just a brain fart. I don't think there's going to be any education other than, well, technically giving data is education, but I don't think I'm going to make a school system or anything like that where there are classes or whatnot, and like literal, what, schedules. No, that's way too cumbersome. So I'm going to pass on education. So fully. Well, you can say that I could have NPCs that sort of teach the player for free or for a price, but I don't think that's enough to warrant a deep dive into education in general. It's just more of a sort of it's a more tiny thing, I guess. So I don't want to detail that too much. Next is technology. Well, we have that advanced technology, but I haven't really specified the specifics, but for sure I'm going to have to include this. Race, well, I can't have to include this because that's what I was talking about where I didn't want it to just be humans. Maybe I do, maybe I don't, but currently we want to brainstorm a whole bunch of these so that I have more options to weigh instead of like juggling all the options in my head. So there. And I'm just going to check something really quick from my world building sources, just so let's see, just so I have more juice with which to discuss. Also check on Twitch again. Oof. Oh no, I disconnected. OBS. What happened here? Hello? Reconnection successful? Crap. Why does OBS keep disconnecting? Well, at least I recorded it, so we have that. Okay, now we're back. And now, did anything happen in Facebook at all? Nope. I seem to have vanished off the face of my Facebook. Or at least, not many have seen my post. Oh well. So, I guess for the YouTuber, I'll go back on track and talk about. Oops, where's my budget Word document? All right, I was going to consult my sources for more. Uh, okay, laws. Wonders, government, nah. Caste system, eh. Jobs. Jobs is interesting. Let's see. Do I want to talk about jobs in the game? Well, technically I have to because what the hell are the other characters going to be doing? So in a very mild sense, I won't highlight this. No color. So okay, let me just check if Twitch is working again. Oh yeah, Twitch is working again. Oof. Sorry for the disconnect. Uh, we got some Pepega internet here. Haha. So now I'm going to go back to jobs. So I have to sort of just brainstorm some general jobs that arise from an interesting data economy based on religious requirements. I guess it's not really religion. It's just more of a religion flavored like dictatorship from unknown godlike beings. So I'm not sure that's actually because I don't think this is something people actually believe in. Well, it's literally right in their flesh. If they don't believe it, they die. So it's not really because usually with religion, it has a set of morals that you believe in. But these alien gods don't bring any morals with them. So it's more like what a is there a word for this? Colonization? Alien colonization. So, um, yeah, there are these weird demands and stuff. Since I'm not actually talking about the actual belief stuff in religions, I don't really think I have enough knowledge on that in real life to talk about that. So I will. So I will. So we've got alien colonization. I just noticed that I could have misrepresented religion there, so avoid that bullet or dodge that bullet. I mean, now back to jobs. So yeah, we have to brainstorm some general jobs that arise from an interesting data economy based on colonization requirements. Colonizer requirements, more like, or I'm not sure. So um, I'll brainstorm on the jobs later, but back on my references. Folklore, language, nah. Food, you can kind of just eat the alien. Oh, wait, right. Another part that I wanted to have here is immortal characters, because that sort of makes things very different. I really wanted to just explain the infinite respawn mechanic that almost all games have, unless they're like ultra hardcore and you start at the very beginning of the game if you die. And it's not a roguelike, which makes it just absolutely brutal to play. Because I like the roguelikes where you start from the very beginning, full scratch, and you just get to play new lives each time in the roguelike. But there are games where it's a linear game, and then you just restart all the way from the start if you die, and that's usually reserved for the ultra hardcore modes of existing linear games. But yeah, uh, if you don't have that infinite respawn or like if you don't have the save load system, then you don't really have to worry about this sort of disconnect. But since I do have a save load system, I wanted to sort of explain it somehow with immortal characters. That's one way of doing it, but this is like more like pseudo immortal, I guess. So let me type that down: pseudo immortal, because it's not that they can't die; it's that they can't die permanently. They keep coming back. Classic Dark Souls. So now we're going to go and is that a cultural? Or that's more of a physical manifestation, actually. So we go back up here and go to immortality. Uh, Let me just make sure I haven't missed out on anything. Systems, jobs, race, technology. Is technology a physical? Nah, that's still a human or like cultural sort of thing. Combat power, still artificial. I could name cultural more like artificial since we're not humans, but any race can technically have a culture even though they're not human. So Politics, still artificial slash cultural. Alien colonization, still yeah, economy, yeah. So Void Rain and Immortality. Now Immortality, I'm going to say this either all right in my D&D campaign, Immortality came about from the advanced technology, where basically the humans or the advanced civilization was able to reach technology that grants them immortality, which is now a bad thing. Now that there are these alien gods that invaded, and now they nobody wants to live forever. They want to escape this mortal coil because they don't want to be tortured by these alien gods. But they are still immortal. So how does the immortality work? There's going to be a lot of questions raised in the game for why do I see the same enemy, like the same named enemy, keep coming back where after I kill them. So I'm going to explore that later on, but part of that is to tie in again with the data mechanic, because uh, when you when you're like hunting data or specific info about a certain character or monster, and then you kill them, your data sort of becomes useless because it's like, oh, you're done using them. But when characters and monsters that you gather data on are immortal, and so you always have to deal with them, or not really always, but you get to deal with them at your own pace multiple times, then your data stays relevant all throughout. And that's why I wanted to include immortality in the game. So now I'm going to back to, let's see. I'm gonna make sure I'm still recording. Yeah, I'm still recording. Okay, check. No, okay. So now go back to immortality. Let's see. Immortality. Did I want to say anything about it further? All right. So it keeps data mechanic relevant even after the monsters slash characters which the data was based on have been defeated by the player already, since they keep coming back. Oh wait, let's rename this to pseudo immortality. I don't know the flavor of how the pseudo immortality is yet. Like, is it nanobots or whatever? Freaking quantum being the explanation for all things sci-fi. But the purpose of immortality in the game is what I'm looking for. So just like how Void Rain influences the mechanics and the gameplay, pseudo immortality has to do that too. Same with all these cultural stuff that we have to world build. How does it all affect the gameplay? Because that's the reason why we're making it a video game and not a movie or a book. So data is a currency which you can manipulate and interact with. In colonization, there are alien gods and these rituals which you have to perform in order to not be cursed by the alien gods all the time. And then we have politics. Basically, there are people, just mildly flavor the hierarchy of a simple civilization based on data-driven economy. So with wizards. Wait, there's no magic. I keep forgetting, or not. There's no specific magic, but basically, the more knowledgeable you are, the more power you hold, because the more money, technically, the more currency you hold. Therefore, the higher in the rank, or the higher whatever political or whatever simple political system a simple civilization could have, the higher you would be there. So that still sorta interacts with the game because it flavors what the player is facing in terms of the characters, not really the monsters. Uh, but yeah, that's why we didn't highlight it because it's not a main system we're gonna explore. Combat power, of course, is a game. We're gonna have combat power be very detailed because that's the actual mechanics of the game when the player is playing. They're fighting while exploring, of course, but uh, combat is as much important as exploration in this game or in this genre called Metroidvania. Next, technology. That's kind of like it's kind of more like a flavor thing for the. So maybe I shouldn't like highlight this again if it's just purely gonna be a flavor thing. Uh, So if politics mildly favors the hierarchy of the simple civilization, then technology could flavor the abilities. Oh, right. So that means there are abilities that come from mutations and abilities that come from technology. Hmm. Will I have abilities that come from technology? I think I will, or at least I can't think of any so far, other than lasers, of course, but I think I'll keep it. So technology, flavor, non mutation abilities, as well it's mainly the no actually the uh, level design, because if there's advanced technology then probably we're in floating space city territory, but I don't want to be that advanced, so it's kind of like budget floating city, just like how I sort of described it in my D&D campaign now. So that's the sort of vibe. Budget floating future city. Budget slash rural, I guess. Yeah. So that's just the technology is just the flavor. Race is kinda also actually it's kinda also just a flavor thing. So I should just unhighlight it. Flavor the characters. Jobs. It's also just uh, more flavor. Okay. Oh no, OBS disconnected again? Damn. Keeps disconnecting. Man, that's really weird. It's making this stream so unwatchable. Oh well. Oh well, I'll figure that out again. Sorry for the disconnects. So I hope the YouTube video version will suffice in case anyone was interested. Okay, so now back here to the world building. So got jobs as mostly flavor. So our main, I guess, things that we're gonna be like dealing with in the game so far is the data economy, the alien colonization, which is the rituals and stuff, and then the combat power. So those are the main things I have to flavor very well and make very distinct from other stories, other genres, other games, or books, movies, series, whatever. So yeah, at least we have some direction there. And then next, I wanted to do I begin flavoring all of these? Because we still have actual gameplay elements to go through. Like, if we have abilities, then we might want to write down what the heck these abilities are. Let's not highlight every single ability though. Yep, there we go. Um, because the abilities in this game are they have like two elements to them, or two not elements, two aspects to them. What the ability actually does, and then what element the ability is not flavor or is functionally performed with. So there could be two versions of the same ability, but one of them is fire based and one of them is water based. So basically, I'm adding an elemental system to the game, mostly because I'm getting that this sort of elemental combination mechanic from another game called Divinity Original Sin 2. In that game, elements combined super emergently. Now, emergence is another like game topic I can discuss, and I sorta already discussed in my first stream, although that's kind of gonna be buried because I showed my Facebook in there, uh, kind of knowing that that's kind of dangerous. But anyway, um, so yeah, the emergent. mechanics of having just multiple components and so many combinations that arise from those components is what I wanted to add to the game. And it helps out because in Metroidvania, there's a lot of like backtracking or like unlocking new things by use of new abilities. But I didn't want it to be as straightforward as, oh, you see this inaccessible area, and oh, you see this, you got this new ability. This ability obviously helps you in this inaccessible area, or maybe even subtly. Some games are able to hide it well or hide it better, and so the player has to think more about how to use the ability in order to traverse that. And that's all. That's good and all, but I wanted to step up figuring out how to access those inaccessible areas with the new abilities. So, for example, uh, there's a structure that can only be destroyed by a fire-based ability, but then it's in its mid-air, and so the player has to jump, destroy the ability, and then jump further to get to the actual other platform. It's not enough to destroy it; they also have to move there. And so, a fire-based ability that also has mobility attached to it. So, for example, a fire charge or a fire sort of dash ability would make sense in that sort of level where you have to think of combining two different concepts into one, uh, like distance-based traversal and destruction-based traversal. And that's why I wanted to add that element as well. Also to like sort of lessen the amount of work I have to do, but increase the effect of what I will do. Because if I had to just make every single ability unique and there's no other aspect to them, they're just the ability in general. Uh, Even if I made 30 abilities, it would still not be as many combinations as if I made, like, for example, 12 abilities, but then there are four elements. So how many? There are like four versions of each ability. So that means there will be technically 64 abilities total. But all I did was make 12 abilities and then four element tags attached to them. So if you see what I'm getting here, I'm getting a lot of mileage out of less content created by making it all modular. So let's put that in. There are aspects to abilities. There's the uh, like what for effect, the effect of the ability, and then the element attached to the ability. There. Now we have that. Uh, let's see if OBS screwed up again. Oh, I got comments. Cool. Hey, Aaron. Those two, yeah. DC. Oh, yeah. The thing keeps DCing. Wow, I have 5 viewers right now. Curiouser and curiouser. Did anyone. Oh, people did see my post, I guess. So, I guess I'll go back to streaming or like back to the topic. So, we have those two aspects of abilities. And now we want to, I guess, well, we tied it in with a difficult world slash level traversal. It's based on ability. It's based on both ability effect and ability element. Element, yeah, that's correct, spelling. And let's unhighlight this. All right. What else did we want to handling data? We sorta discussed that more. Pseudo immortal characters. That's because player gains data about monsters and characters. So maybe we have to wait. That's the thing about that. So data mechanics. We should put in data types. Oh yeah, here monster stats, mapping, character bios. Monster stats and character bios are sort of almost the same thing. It's just that like monsters won't have personalities, I guess. So let's put let's whoops let's simplify that to character data. So we have character data and mapping data. I guess we could have time-based data. So time slash schedule slash weather data. Let's just call it that. 'Cause I think I want to have something like that. Because I want that sort of feeling where the player has to go to a certain place at a certain time in order to find something new. I really like that in, well, the first time I saw it was in Neopets, I guess, when you had to like go to that sort of Egypt statue thing in the desert exactly at 12 noon or 12 midnight to level up your Neopet for free. And it has to be like right on the dot, like on the minute that you're online and in that exact spot to get that free level up. But yeah, I really like that cool sort of thing. Or like just the classic fishing trope where you have to be in this certain place and certain time for this fish to appear, and then you have to use a specific bait to lure it out and all of that. So I really like that. That's why I'm including it in. But on to detailing what kind of character data exists. So it's kind of like detailing the stats. Uh, so I guess there's when you're detailing stats, you're detailing passives and actives, and then you're detailing. Well, technically, we could put this map and time schedule data under character data as well because it's like the mapping data would be like for a monster, where do they roam, or for a character, where do they chill a lot, or where do they work a lot. So I guess uh, roaming slash wait, I guess location. I guess location. Then there's time. How about I guess what they're doing, like uh, not oh whoops, yeah, activity slash what's this? Activity dash schedule data. So what do they do at what times? For a monster, it's like when do they eat, when do they hunt. I guess that's sort of the same thing. When do they hunt first, then when do they eat, when do they sleep, when do they do whatever they need to do to survive. Some animals kind of like build shelters, so that could be a sort of thing, but that might be too in depth. So basically, yeah, I want every character to have an activity schedule, a location that's sort of tied in with the activity schedule, or like more like a list of locations, I guess. And I guess it's a list of schedules. Nah, there should technically. Oh no, there is a list of schedules because they could have differing states. For example, if a monster like okay, this is super in depth, which I'm probably not going to add into the game. But let's say for example we have a character, a monster baby, and the state is it currently is lost because it was separated from its family. That would change its activity schedule to mostly be look for home. Other than that, hunt and survive and do all the normal stuff. So yeah, that changes. A state would change its activity schedule. Maybe not state, but more like status. Because state kind of reminds me of a more in the moment thing, like you change state, and status is more of a long term, like what's your current status, or at least that's how I currently think of it. Some other people might have different uh, perspective or like interpretations of it, but that's how I'm currently think of it. So I'm just gonna rename it to that. Now we have passives and actives. Uh, what other kind of character data could we have? Goals, I guess. I guess that's if activities as schedules is like the minute or like the more detailed day-to-day sort of thing that a character or monster does. A goal would be a more what's this long-term thing or more strategy or meta layer sort of thing. Long-term goals. So for a monster, that would probably be uh, right climbing up the food chain or whatever. But yeah, oh yeah, the monsters, I should probably make it into a base mechanic here and detail it, or not really. And I can't think of anything to write down for it for now, so I won't write it down yet. But maybe in the future I'll detail it somewhere else. But yeah, so we have character data, passives, actives, occasions, activity schedules, long-term goals, status. Maybe that's a little bit much for now. So mapping data could be routes, entrances slash exits. No, another disconnect. Is it like per hour or something? That's so weird. You it disconnected again. Be back in a bit as normal. Yep. It literally just disconnects and reconnects immediately. It's very weird. Um, let's check the Twitch. Let's click play. Let's see what's happening. And then let's go here. Let's see what's happening here. Uh, is something the problem? Anyway, back to the document. So mapping data. Let's see. I I guess another way I could have done this, or at least I prepared another app. If I were to show you, boop, there. We could have I could have done this sort of from the beginning, where I make it a mind map. So for example, I drag this in. Let's zoom in and make it bigger a bit, and then let's edit the label to be data. So we have a data mechanic, and then I copy paste this and say it's related to economy, and then I would like make a connection here. I would probably change the node though. Click this node. Target arrow? No. Wait, where's my node thing? Ah, here. Nodes. Edge types pala, right? Yeah. Make it all normal. There. So we delete this and connect it like that. Yeah, there. So it's just a connection. And then I could have done this with all the other things, but I think I'll do that for a different stream where I try to get all the things that I did in the Word document and connect them in ways that make sense. But for now, I'm in the Word document because we're more focused on generating things rather than actually connecting them in meaningful ways. So yeah, Mana Steel. Oh yeah, that's another combat mechanic. That's mostly related to abilities. So I guess I should put this as a subset of abilities. Where's ability aspects? And then surrounding mechanics, and we have Mana Steel. Whoops, we have to tab this into the correct position. Yep. Am I streaming the correct thing? Oh god, the network error completely? Oh no, or is it fine here? No, there's just a full network error. Damn, that's unfortunate. Let's refresh this. Go back to OBS. Is there something I can do to change this? Huh. Drop frames. I'm dropping a lot of frames. Holy crap. Uh, hmm. What if I hid a whole bunch of this older stuff that I'm not using anyway? Does that help out? Not really. Oh wait, it is? Nah, not really actually. Uh, if I go back here, oh there, the stream's back, nice, at least. And I'm back down to one viewer. Oh well. Uh, that's just Philippine internet, I guess. I'll fix it. I'll figure out if it could be fixed some other time, but at least it's all getting recorded. Back to the Word document. So, surrounding mechanics, there's Mana Steel, and then I want to go back to handling data, data types, data mechanics. Uh, uh, is there other stuff I want to do for this stream, or I feel like flavoring all of these and like actually like coming up with jobs or like coming up with abilities specifically and the economy specifically, like the traders and all that, and all the levels. I guess that's technically what I should have been doing in a world building video, but instead I made a sort of concept video or like design video But I think I'll leave that for a part two because I'm kind of tired right now. But yeah, we'll pick this up maybe tomorrow. Probably tomorrow, actually. I mean, I've not. This is all I'm doing. Uh, so yeah, I guess see you again next time.